Iran's entire mine-laying fleet has been destroyed, every single ship. 30 vessels designed specifically to choke off global oil supplies through the Strait of Hormuz are now sitting at the bottom of the sea. All 30, gone. Donald Trump stood in the White House today and delivered what may be the most consequential military status update in decades. His words were precise: "We hit all 30 of their ships and destroyed them. They're all at the bottom of the sea." The Strait of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil supply, the choke point Iran has weaponized for 47 years. The leverage that made every global leader calculate around Iranian threats, that leverage just sank with those 30 ships. And here's the number that changes everything. More than 100 Iranian naval vessels destroyed in the last week and a half, 100 ships, 7,000 targets struck, 90% reduction in ballistic missile capability, 95% reduction in drone attacks. The Air Force is gone, the Navy is gone, the radar is gone, the leaders are gone. When I say this is the end for Iran, I don't mean weakened, I don't mean degraded, I mean the military infrastructure that made Iran a regional power for nearly 5 decades has been systematically dismantled. Hit subscribe because what I'm about to walk you through represents the most significant shift in global energy security since the 1973 oil embargo, and the countdown to reopening the world's most critical shipping lane has already begun. Let me explain why those 30 ships matter more than everything else. The Strait of Hormuz is approximately 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Every day, roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass through that corridor. That's 20% of global supply. Japan depends on it for 95% of its oil imports. China depends on it for 90%, South Korea for 35%, European nations for significant percentages of their energy needs. For decades, Iran's ultimate threat was simple: we can close the strait, we can mine it, we can make it impassable, and nobody can stop us. Those 30 mine-laying ships were the physical embodiment of that threat. Specialized vessels designed to deploy naval mines rapidly across shipping lanes, each ship capable of deploying dozens of mines in hours. The entire fleet capable of rendering the Strait of Hormuz a death trap for any commercial vessel attempting passage. That capability no longer exists. Let me translate what that means strategically. A single naval mine costs perhaps $25,000 to manufacture. A single oil tanker costs $150 million to $2 billion depending on size and type. The insurance alone on a supertanker transiting a mined strait would be catastrophic. The calculus was always in Iran's favor. Cheap weapons threatening expensive assets. Now the ships that deploy those weapons are wreckage on the sea floor. Iran cannot close the Strait of Hormuz with mines because Iran cannot lay mines. The weapon system has been eliminated entirely. The mine ships were not destroyed in isolation. They were destroyed as part of what Trump described as the most comprehensive military campaign against a nation's military infrastructure in modern history. 7,000 targets. Let that number settle. The Iranian Air Force, which operated approximately 300 aircraft including American-made F-14 Tomcats, Russian MiGs, and domestically produced fighters, is described as gone, not degraded, gone. The Iranian Navy, which operated frigates, corvettes, patrol boats, and submarines across the Persian Gulf, has lost more than 100 vessels in 10 days. The remaining fleet, whatever survives, lacks the air cover, radar support, and command structure to operate effectively. Anti-aircraft systems that protected Iranian airspace have been decimated. The radar networks that would detect incoming strikes have been destroyed. The manufacturing facilities producing missiles and drones are being struck daily. 3 more were hit today. Trump's assessment was delivered with the casual precision of someone reading a completed checklist. Other than that, they're doing quite well. The Iranian military that existed 2 weeks ago no longer exists in any operational sense. What remains is fragments, survivors, equipment without supporting infrastructure, soldiers without functioning command chains, and then there's the leadership question. Trump described a situation that borders on absurdist theater. The first group of Iranian leaders was killed. A second group convened to select new leadership. That group was killed. A third group convened. I would think they're a little nervous about meeting, Trump observed. If they're not nervous, then they're crazy. The Ayatollah's son, reportedly elevated to supreme leader, has not been seen publicly. Reports vary between severely injured, badly disfigured, missing limbs, and dead. Trump noted that the previous Ayatollah would regularly appear spewing hate from his chair. This one has not appeared at all. Iran is negotiating, according to Trump. But the American government does not know who they're negotiating with. The leadership structure that would normally conduct such negotiations has been systematically eliminated. This is not regime change in the traditional sense. This is regime evaporation, the command structure dissolving faster than it can reconstitute itself. Now let me walk you through what happens to global energy markets. The Strait of Hormuz has carried a risk premium for decades. Every barrel of oil transiting that corridor has been priced with Iranian threat factored in. Insurance rates, shipping costs, futures contracts, all of them have included the possibility that Iran might close the strait. That risk premium is about to collapse. When those shipping lanes are confirmed safe, when the mine-laying capability is verified destroyed, when commercial vessels begin transiting without incident, the price of oil will adjust, not slightly, dramatically. Trump was explicit about the timeline. I think we're going to have the situation straightened out pretty quickly. Countries are already sending vessels. France, rated 8 out of 10 on enthusiasm, is committing resources. Other nations are mobilizing minesweepers and patrol vessels. The countdown has begun. The question is not whether the strait reopens safely. The question is how quickly, and here's the critical detail that most analysts are missing. The United States gets less than 1% of its oil from the Strait of Hormuz. America is now producing more than double any other nation. Venezuela is shipping millions of barrels to Houston refineries. The US doesn't need the strait, but Japan does, China does, Europe does, South Korea does. The United States just eliminated the threat to a shipping lane it doesn't depend on, creating leverage over every nation that does depend on it. That is not charity, that is strategic positioning of the highest order. Trump used a phrase that deserves examination. This is a paper tiger that we're dealing with now. It wasn't a paper tiger 2 weeks ago. It's a paper tiger now. For 47 years, Iran has projected power through threat, the threat of closing Hormuz, the threat of missile attacks, the threat of proxy warfare, the threat of terrorism, the threat of nuclear development. Threats only work when the capability to execute them exists. The capability to close Hormuz is destroyed. The missile stockpiles are reduced by 90%. The drone production facilities are being systematically eliminated. The Air Force and Navy are gone. The leadership is dead or hiding. What remains is a nation with a population of 88 million people, vast oil reserves that remain untouched, and no functioning military to speak of. Trump explicitly noted that Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export facility, was struck, but the oil infrastructure was deliberately spared. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we can do that on 5 minutes' notice. The oil remains as leverage. The military capability to threaten anyone with that oil has been eliminated. The implications extend far beyond oil prices. Every nation that calculated around Iranian power is recalculating today. Every proxy group that depended on Iranian weapons and funding is reassessing its position. Every regional government that balanced between Iranian threats and Western alignment is watching those 30 ships sink and drawing conclusions. The Strait of Hormuz will reopen. Oil will flow. Prices will adjust. The risk premiums built into global energy markets for decades will deflate. And Iran, the nation that terrorized the Middle East for 47 years, the nation that threatened to close the world's most critical shipping lane, the nation that built its entire strategic position on the ability to inflict pain on the global economy, is now negotiating for survival with leaders America cannot even identify. 30 mine-laying ships at the bottom of the sea, 100 naval vessels destroyed, 7,000 targets struck, the Air Force gone, the Navy gone, the leadership gone. The oil shock everyone feared from Iran closing the strait. The opposite is happening. The strait is opening, and Iran cannot stop it. Stay watching. The countdown to the most significant shift in global energy markets in 50 years has begun. Thanks for watching.